With this, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to now hand over the baton and the stage and the podium, and I'd like to invite Mr. D.M. Sheregar, President TAGMA India, for the welcome address. Would you please join me in welcoming him onto the podium?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As the President of TAGMA and representative of the Indian tool makers, I welcome all to the 6th International Tooling Summit. Let me start by welcoming our special guest today, our chief guest, Mr. Sunil Kakkar, Executive Office, Supply Chain, Maruti Suzuki, India. Guest of honor, Mr. Hariom Rai, Chairman and Managing Director, Lava International, and Mr. Prashant Jain, Managing Director, GE Power Limited. Thank you so much, sir, accepting our invitation and being a part of this event. I welcome everyone present here, industry professionals, speakers, sponsors, and my friends of the tooling industry. Since the start of this decade, leaders around the world are saying that this decade belongs to India. There is sense of positivity among the global businesses. People are working at in India, lot of the hope of optimism. This definitely good sign. We are seeing year on year FDI is increasing, and large Indian conglomerates expanding. This will be a good opportunity for Indian tool makers. We have huge business opportunities in front of us. During these 2 days, we are going to discuss some of the most trending topics. We have many experts joining us as speakers. Before concluding, मैं बोलना चाहता हूँ कि हमारे फ्रेंड्स टोल मेकर्स को अभी मैं बात किया था OEMs सुनील कक्कर जी से कि सपोर्ट कीजिए टोल रूम के लिए. कक्कर जी से बोल दिया कि ज़रूर हम लोग मेक इन इंडिया कर रहे हैं. उसके लिए हमारे टोल मेकर सब आगे आए. साथ साथ में टोल मेकर के सपोर्ट के लिए steel supplier makers, ancillary makers, hot runner suppliers, software industries, peoples, or machining suppliers, especially machine makers in India and international market का dealers भी इधर हो गए. सभी लोग का support ज़रूरत है tool makers को. In the same time, sir, हमको फाइनेंस का भी तकलीफ है टोल मेकर्स को इंडिया में, सभी को मालूम है. उस बारे में OEMs और टायर उनका सपोर्ट भी ज़रूरत पड़ेगा टोल मेकर्स को. इन द सेम टाइम सप्लायर्स, एंसिलरी सप्लायर्स का भी सपोर्ट लगेगा. क्रेडिटेबिलिटी में हो या सप्लाई में फास्ट सप्लाई का करने का या प्राइसिंग में हो. स्पेशली सॉफ्टवेयर इंडस्ट्रीज को रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा, उनका भी तकलीफ टोल मेकर्स को बहुत ज़्यादा है. जैसे आते कक्कर साहब बोले इंडिया का टूल रूम को क्यों अच्छा नहीं बना सकते. सर ज़रूर बना सकते हैं हम लोग. टोल मेकर एक्सपर्ट इन इंडिया, चाइना से बहुत आगे हम लोग होंगे, मगर सबका सपोर्ट ज़रूरत है. सेम टाइम आपका सपोर्ट भी दीजिए, सप्लायर्स भी हमको सपोर्ट कीजिए टोल मेकर्स को. मैं सभी टोल मेकर्स को आह्वान करता हूँ, सब आगे आइए, टैगमा का मेंबर बनिए. टैगमा से आपका जो भी प्रॉब्लम्स है टैगमा के साथ में ज्वाइंट होके सॉल्व करने के लिए आप सपोर्ट कीजिए. और टैगमा मेंबर बनने से क्या फ़ायदा होगा करके भी बहुत लोग बोले थे पहले. मैं ये बोलता हूँ टैगमा मेंबर से फ़ायदा के लिए नहीं आने का, हमारा टूलिंग हब को इंडिया का सबसे बड़ा हब बनाने के लिए आप सबका ज़रूरत है. सभी ज्वाइन कीजिए टैगमा को और टूलिंग हब इंडिया का सबसे बड़ा टूलिंग हब बनाएंगे. और मोल्ड में ऐसे मोल्ड मेकर, मैं भी एक मोल्ड मेकर हूँ, सभी को आह्वान करता हूँ, सब मिल के इंडिया का टोल मेकिंग इंडस्ट्री को सबसे आगे दिखाएंगे. क्योंकि कुछ लोग मुझे मेरे बिजनेस रिपोर्ट में बोलते गए कि चाइना बहुत आगे है, क्यों नहीं तुम लोग कर सकते हैं. चाइना आगे है सर, उधर का गवर्नमेंट भी सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं उनको. इंडस्ट्री के साथ में, मशीनरी के साथ में, सभी जगह में हम इंडिया भी बहुत आगे है, सपोर्ट की ज़रूरत है। जैसे अभी बोले सीआरएम के साथ में पकड़ के हम लोग गवर्नमेंट के साथ में भी मिल के कुछ अच्छा करने की कोशिश करेंगे। सबका साथ चाहिए, सभी लोग साथ आइए, टोल मेकर को, जो टैगमा को हम लोग अच्छा बनाएंगे, साथ साथ में टोलिंग इंडस्ट्री को अच्छा करेंगे करके बोलते हुए मेरा बात को एंड करता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much, sir, for all of those wonderful insights. With this, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to invite onto the podium our chief guest. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me as I request him to join us to the podium and say a few words. Our chief guest, Mr. Sunil Kakkar, Senior Executive Officer, Supply Chain, Maruti Suzuki India Limited.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think first of all, I would like to thank Mr. Sheregar, President TAGMA, and the entire EC committee of TAGMA for inviting me today and giving opportunity to address all of you in this International Tooling Summit 2022. I am quite delighted and privileged to be a part of this event which hosts the pioneers of tooling industry. TAGMA, as we know, has been continuously working to promote and encouraging improvements in tooling industry. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank as a OEM Maruti Suzuki that the way tooling fraternity has really put in efforts in upgrading the total thing in terms of infrastructure and capability, and the way tooling product has come to us from India, that is really remarkable. You will be glad to know that as of today, we are already working with 31 tool makers in metal and plastic category. And the entire mutual efforts, whatever OEM, tier ones, and tool makers have been putting in, the overall yield has been quite high. And we have been able to localize 90% of the tooling requirement for our vehicles. So this is definitely a very big achievement, and a large credit goes to all of you for putting this together, because as you know, in the past, we were primarily looking at maybe Korea, Taiwan, China, elsewhere. But now you people have proved that in India, everything and almost everything can be done here. Very briefly talking about the auto world, maybe it may interest you that as you are aware that automobile industry, we have been facing numerous challenges in the last 2 years. The supply chain as well as technology framework, that is undergoing a big change. So here we need to see that the way we had various things like COVID came in, then there were semiconductor shortages, and then there were commodity price increases. So these are the things which challenges which are coming in last 2 years. But as a overall family, I would say starting from tooling makers to part makers to OEMs, all of us, we have tried to see that how we overcome this. Apart from this, you would be aware that already in global markets, the transition is happening in the auto industry today. Whether it is a disruption or a transition, we need to really look at it. But when we are talking about EVs coming in, when we are talking about flex fuels, then we are talking about IC engines, whether they are going to remain or not. So primarily we are sitting on a crossroad where we really don't know that what all are really going to take majority steps in future. So there the best part is that we remain ready for all the technologies which are going to come. So as a OEM, we are definitely getting prepared ourselves. And tooling industry, I would not say is totally dependent on the powertrain technology, maybe little agnostic, but still the requirement of those vehicles will be in different category of parts. So there I would suggest that tooling industry also needs to be really prepared going forward. So when we talk about the new cars which are coming and EVs are going to play the main role, so there I think one of the very important thing is on the high tensile steels which are going to get used. Now already we see that the first electric vehicle which we are going to launch, so there already the ultra high tensile in the range of 780, 980, 1200 plus. So those kind of metals are going to get used. So there again we need to see that how India and the tool industry here can really take initiative and prepare themselves so that we are able to do the job first time right and the best quality. So that is very, very important. So that way I feel that TAGMA can definitely play a role, and probably with support from all of you, this should be done. Because as you are aware, right from our Honorable Prime Minister on Atmanirbhar Bharat, the way he has been telling us and guiding us. And also as being a chairman of the sourcing committee on localization, we have already prepared a roadmap, including the tooling industry also, the way in next 5 years, how localization can happen. So there we need to see that whatever gaps are still remaining, whatever 10% parts are remaining, or this ultra high tensile which has to come, or whether we talk about plastics when we are talking about lamps or lenses, which are little more critical. So there again, you need to see that how we can become better than any other country. So this is something which as a OEM I would like to request. Now coming to the future challenges, as I told you that localization of proprietary parts and steel is really important. So basically what we are looking at is that in terms of products, we have already witnessed a lot of localization with you in past 2-3 years. But still, I would say that there are certain expectations as a OEM, which I would like to mention here, particularly with regard to the tooling industry. So first is on the concurrent engineering. So here we need to see that as a improvement of the simulation capability, this needs to be really improved in the design and feedback mechanism while you are doing the manufacturing of tools. Because there, again, when we have gone through the process of localization with some of you, we feel that this area further can be enhanced, and we need to really reach at the global level. Also, second thing which we have seen is on the quality maturation. Of course, we are doing better. You are doing a much better job day by day, and things are improving. But if we have to really see whether we are talking about T0, T1 or whatever trials, then how can we have much better accuracy levels so that the overall quality of the car or the end product, whatever may be, is the best quality in the world. So that is something which we need to really see. Then also third is on the yield improvement, because obviously cost is very important and price sensitivity in India. Nobody better than us can understand that people are very sensitive on the prices. So there again, we need to see that as a part of yield improvement, what can we do as a global standards? Can we make toolings which are giving the best of yields in the, which gives the best of the cost? So that is another one area where probably things can even become better when we are talking about the India being the global hub for the tooling industry. Then again, another point is on the robustness to avoid the early failures. That again, we need to see that wherever some earlier failures are happening, those things are really taken care in advance, and those improvements are done. As far as localization of tool is concerned, as I told, 90% is already done, and balance I'm sure will be done soon. But again, as a part of your buyout, where you are buying the raw materials, which is special steels, or whether you are talking about BOPs at your end, there again, I think some maybe discussions with the steel industry or wherever it is required. So there again, you need to see how as a overall tool, as a raw material in BOP can further be localized. That will really give us another cost merit. Then lastly, I would say that in terms of ecosystem, when we observe Taiwan, we observe China, Thailand, and a lot of places which we have seen the historical maturity of the tool industry. So there we have seen that there are very clear-cut tier 2 suppliers who are very specific, specialized, and experts in their jobs. So that kind of structure has been giving benefit to them. And here probably the way tooling industry has really matured over a period of time, probably large part of the job is done by individual tool makers. So there I don't know whether TAGMA as a overall or how this can be taken up even with the government, where some incentives can be brought in and OEMs can also support. But we have to really see that if this kind of thing can happen where we have really center of excellence and expertise. So that kind of thing we feel as a OEM will really be very beneficial. So those clusters we need to see how they can be created. And again, talking about the, what President also told about the capital investments which are required in tooling industry, we are fully aware that this is a capital intensive. So one, we would like to say as a OEM is important that please do not compromise on the selection of machines, which may be cheaper in the beginning, but ultimately on productivity, quality, and those standards, it may not be really good. So that way, whatever financing assistance is required along with the banks or elsewhere, that we can definitely see. But what I can tell you is that from the OEM point of view, as far as Maruti is concerned, last, I would say 3.5 years back, we have already taken a policy decision that in order to support tooling industries via tier 1s, because they are our direct suppliers. So we have already taken a policy that the tooling money will be given right up front at LOI 30% or maybe at maturity 40% and commissioning balance part of it. So that is a change which we have brought in for not only tier 1s but also for tier 2. So this should definitely help in terms of financial thing whenever you are facing the cash flow problems. Also, I think what with Mr. Sharma I was discussing earlier also, the recognition of tooling industry probably and our engagement was also low. So now what we have done is in our conferences and in our vendor meets, we have made it very clear that some of you, whatever group we can call maybe on a rotation basis, we have already started inviting you, and we are happy that you also came. Some of you came and participated in our vendor meets and vendor conferences. So that way, right from OEM to tier 1 to tooling makers, it is a direct communication. And obviously you come to know a lot of things about our plans also, the way we are going forward. So that way we feel, and of course inviting us here clearly shows that the bonding and the direct connect is also happening. On the skill development, I think Maruti Suzuki has already taken initiative with where Subros and a lot of our other suppliers. We have already made a group where we are trying to improve the skilling of people so that in this particular trade, the skill set can be available. But there, I think as a TAGMA, probably along with government and skill ministry, it needs to be further seen that how that skill set can be made further better for future, and also how that can be retained within the tooling industry. So that is again one of the things which we need to take up. So with that, I think I would like to once again thank TAGMA for inviting and wish you all the success to become a world-class manufacturing for tooling industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for all of those wonderful insights. And I'm sure that our audience members have had some takeaways from everything that you've shared with us. May I now request our guest of honor, Mr. Hariom Rai, Chairman and Managing Director, Lava International Limited. Please join us on the podium and share his thoughts. Good morning, sir.
So good morning to everyone. And thank you, TAGMA President and TAGMA people, for inviting me. Let me share some of the insights first about our industry, because when I saw the entire program list, I could not find anybody from electronics side. So the IT and electronics, we see it together. We don't see it separately because software and hardware is all together. And put together, this industry generates a revenue of about $4 trillion globally. And $4 trillion gets multiplied at least 4 times to create about $17 trillion of global GDP because of the entire supply chain and the economic multiplier. And the valuation of the companies in this industry, in electronics and tech, is about $23 trillion, which is more than a fourth of the total global valuation. So it's a very, very important industry, very critical for any country. Now, from this industry perspective, let me come to India perspective and the opportunity what we have. In India, we started with, in mobile manufacturing specifically because we came from the mobile industry, we recognize that it is very critical for us to understand that India somehow people erroneously think is a large market, but it is not, because we are just 3.1% of the global GDP. So we cannot be more than 3.1% of the global consumption put together. And for example, in our segment, in mobile manufacturing, mobile consumption, we are 5% or 5.5% of the global mobile consumption. So with this thought process, we cannot build an ecosystem of scale. And therefore, what we are looking at is to create an ecosystem of global scale in India, targeting the world. That's the most important thing I wanted to let you people know, because we are 18% of the global population, surviving on a mere 3.1% of the global GDP, is because of what we leaders have done to our country. And it's all our fault, specifically leaders from the industry. Why I'm telling you leaders from the industry and not the government? Because frankly, let me just give you some insights about myself. I have run 3 businesses prior to Lava, and fortunately, local businesses, and we were number 1 in all the businesses we've done in India. And in Lava, amongst the domestic company, we are by far the number 1, but we got badly disrupted. It was then that I recognized, that I used to think I'm a great leader, but I recognized that in India, the competition is not between good and great, it is between poor and worse. So we won because, not that I was great, because others were not sort of that, I would say it's a poor or worse fight. And the second thing I recognize is that the competition is not between companies, the global competition, it is between countries. And unless the country gets invoked, we cannot do the globally competitive business. So I had 2 choices. One is to come in the supply chain of large global companies, build a 40,000-50,000 crore company, and as they say, lived happily ever after. Or 2, to change the way the country thinks. And after meeting the political level and also at the bureaucratic level, I found the situation is same. The competition between poor and worse. And it's a truth of the country. And when I recognized that, I took the choice of going on the second side. And I started working very deeply with the government. And the most important thing is, I recognize that government is looking for solutions. So therefore, in my mind, it was the entrepreneur, specifically at the high level, who has dished the country by not taking the responsibility of bringing the change desired in the country. So now, what is the kind of change we are bringing? Just to let you know, so we started the mobile manufacturing when we came in the industry about 2014 with 18,000 crore of manufacturing. Now we manufacture 3 lakh crore of mobile, and after doing this entire mobile manufacturing, we said that, okay, how can we export? So the PLI construct came because we had disabilities as compared to China and other countries. So we injected the PLI as I would call it a steroid to export, because we have to create the ecosystem. But fundamentally, it is not for the long term. It is just a steroid for the short term. We have to create an ecosystem. And what we are now working on is competitiveness. And in this competitiveness agenda, we are working on every single element of cost which goes in making a product, which means whether it is the capital cost or infrastructure or machinery or labor or power or whatever, I'm not logistics, etc., everything. And we are determined that we'll be able to bring every single cost down by certain strategies and policies which we are ensuring that the government and the country must follow. And by that, we believe that we'll be able to create a very large industry in India, because fundamentally we are looking at 2 strategic measures. I would like to say that it's about winner takes all principle. We cannot produce 5-7% or 10% of the global manufacturing in our sector specifically. We are looking at producing about 50% of the global mobile manufacturing and electronics manufacturing in the next 10 years' time. And we want to manufacture it in a manner that the bottom 50% of the labor-oriented supply chain is manufactured in India in such a manner that remaining world takes this, they cannot be globally competitive without taking our bottom supply chain to manufacture their product which they require globally. So what I'm talking, let's understand the scale at which we are talking. So just to let you know, only in 20 months, Apple has been able to produce about $8 billion of mobile phone, and it's just the beginning. They must produce $100 billion of mobile phones and their all products in India in the next 7 to 10 years. So it's a very large sector which we are looking at developing, and we are looking at, for example, after 2020, after Galwan, the Chinese manufacturing or the supply chain has stopped coming in, but now government has decided that they are going to be allowed in the JVs, and we need to bring those skills required. In our industry, we know we work in microns in the tooling side. So we need those skills and scale. These are the two things we require. And we are looking at building this industry at a very, very large global scale. And in terms of support, when you spoke from the heart, we must come together and really deserve to get what we want, actually. And once we deserve to get what we want, there is no doubt that we'll get it. In our industry, lastly, let me give you just 2-3 things, that the JVs are being allowed with the Chinese companies, and we are doing as a company the first JV with the #1 mobile and tablet manufacturers of the world, along with the supply chain. So there's a very large opportunity, I would like to say, is coming into our industry. And there's a very large, very different vision with which you have to take, look at this electronics industry the way we are building it. And so look at the scale, have the JVs, and there are opportunities coming in. Let us engage a little more, because you people are working a little differently, because we have not been working together probably so deeply. So there's an opportunity coming. Let us look at scale and skills, and we are working at bringing the entire competitiveness in the country. So let us engage together and create something phenomenal for the country and for industry and for ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for all of those wonderful insights. And I'm sure that everything that you've said has encouraged all of us to come together as an industry to move ahead. With this, may I now request Mr. T.S. Gopalakrishnan, Director, Marketing Multiple Special Steel, to please join us on the podium for his keynote address. Would you please join me in welcoming him?
Good morning, friends, countrymen, and patrons. I stand here with utmost humbleness and the highest of happiness for being part of this elite group, the builders of Indian industries. The stalwarts like Maruti Suzuki, Sir, Mr. Sunil Kakkar ji, Sri Hariom Rai ji, Sri Prashant Jain ji. Thank you very much for gracing this occasion and accepting the TAGMA's invitation. And we have had a lot of insights into this, what is happening or what will happen in India. And because what they have told is the essence of ITS, India International Tooling Summit. What TAGMA conceived this idea as a group. There are a lot of individuals who are part of it to start this initially, and it is rolling into a bigger behemoth. Is the same thing what Sunil ji and Hariom ji had told, that is, we come in the same platform, the OEMs, the top of the pyramid, and people like the tool room people, and under them we, the raw material suppliers, the hot runners and the other accessories. So we try to understand what our immediate customer needs, and the chain goes up to the OEMs. So this gives a beautiful platform where the OEMs can tell what they actually need. For example, Sunil ji was talking about quality, so don't compromise on quality. Price will be here and there. Be frank, be open, and tell the OEMs, because at the end of the day, whatever tools or the babies you make, the ownership is with the OEMs. So we should be true to that, and we should see that they are appreciated. Toolmaker treats his tool, each and every tool, whether it is small or big, as his own child. So he is sending it to his OEM or the like a daughter being sent to the her husband's house. So we should treat that they should come back with happiness, and our tools should be treated like gold by the OEMs. And recalling Mr. Hariom ji, sir, you are talking about IT being, I think, neglected, or if I'm not, correct me, but IT can never be neglected, sir, because IT drives the car both inside and behind the wheel. IT is the biggest contributor for automotive and all the other success in India. And actually, I had prepared some other this thing. The president has stolen my speech. I have come to appeal to the OEMs, being in the top of the pyramid, that through their Tier 1 and Tier 2 arms, they should see that the technical and the financial support is percolated down to the last of the chain, being the raw materials, sir. And thank you very much for giving this insight into, from the Maruti's perspective, because like Hamara Bajaj, for us, Maruti is Mera Maruti. So we are really glad that 90% support is there for the Indian tooling industry, and I hope it is the challenge for us to fill up the balance 10% and make it 100% support Mera Bharat, Mera Atmanirbhar, and Make in India. They are there to support us. The government is there to support us. So it is up to the tooling fraternity, and especially through TAGMA, we can do definitely wonders. And I appeal to all the patrons, friends, TAGMA members here to bring in more members so that our voice can be heard both in the corridors of the parliament as well as the training rooms of the OEMs. Thank you very much, TAGMA. Thank you very much, all the members, for this great opportunity. It is a privilege. Thank you very much. Vande Mataram. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for all of those wonderful points. And I think all of the things that he has said has truly encouraged each and everyone who's sitting here. With that, may I now invite Mr. Vishal Agarwal, President, Yudo Hot Runner India Private Limited, for his keynote address. May I please request you to join us at the podium.
Good morning, everyone. It was great to hear the perspective of the tooling segment from the industry stalwarts. As on many occasions I have said, I am being very positive about our market. We started Yudo in India 22 years ago. The tooling industry was in its initial phase that time. The tooling was majorly for white goods, household and other sectors, including automotive. But none of them was significant that time. Since then, definitely we have come a long way. Today, the technical capabilities of our tool room are at par with any global tooling standards, be it any segment, be it automotive, packaging, white goods, electrical, or household. I would not like to deep dive the segments. For example, automotive for bumper, we are doing 38 seconds for a front bumper, and I'm talking about the SUV in India, 2K molds, or exporting engineering plastic parts to countries like Italy and Germany. The packing segment is where we stand at par with global tool rooms. We have tool rooms in India exporting most of their molds to Europe and American market. Last year only, one of our Indian tool room has developed cube mold in packaging, which is not an easy mold to be done, and many other projects. 4-5 years ago, for the first IML 8 cavity project, I was personally involved in that. The rejection rate was below 2%, which is one of the best in the world. And still, 8 cavity IML is very high cavitation for IML segment. And the achievements are endless for our industry without any technical collaboration for the tool rooms. However, there are many areas we all have to work together, like the delivery time of the tooling in India, which has to improve. The tool rooms alone cannot do that. There is a lot which has to be done from the vendor side first, where the steel suppliers, mold base, standard parts and hotness come into picture. We all have to work on our processes and speak to our counterparts to invest more in India, either in terms of increasing the local manufacturing capabilities or increasing the local stocking. I strongly feel an extensive vendor support infrastructure has to be created for the tool makers, which will not only speed up their work, but will also help them primarily in reducing the capex and the space requirement for them. This kind of support will help the tool makers to deliver the mold at much faster speed and focus more on their core strength. By the way, Yudo is doing its bit. We have invested in new machines, increased our localization to a great extent, and we are not resting here. Future plans are ready for the next financial year, keeping in mind specific sector-wise requirements. In fact, Yudo India is the only company in its segment in India invested so heavily on IT. We work on SAP with a lot of customization, additional modules. We have Salesforce, and first in the world, anywhere in hotness segment, we have developed a AI-based software along with a WhatsApp chat box to register the service call in India, and many special applications for design department. Being a part of a MNC, which has started in a small garage in a house almost 40 years back in South Korea, and today is the world's largest hotness manufacturer and largest not by 5 or 10%, but more than 3 times compared to the closest competitor. With world's largest manufacturing setup and first in the industry, 24 hours fully unmanned operations. I have myself seen the journey of Yudo and the Asian market, how they have evolved, especially after year 2000. There was a big boom in specific sectors like automotive, electronic market, which I mean by television, refrigerator, air conditioner, and mobile phones. They changed the entire dynamics of the plastic industry. Now I can feel the exact change and dynamics in the Indian industry. On one side, the entire world is preparing for recession. India's story is quite opposite. India's automotive market is 4th largest in the world now. White goods and electronics are continuously observing double-digit growth, with so many new Indian brands carving their own space in the MNC-dominated market. The mobile revolution is already there in Indian market, but it's another story. The localization of the tooling is yet to be done for many of these segments. Just to give you a hint, we have a separate factory in Korea for one of the big mobile phone brands, where we are making more than 600 molds every month. And this is just one of the example. We do also have a big automation division dedicated for television, washing machine, and mobile phones. Couple of years back, Yudo received the Best Automation Company Award in Korea. Just to give you an example of the automation capabilities we have, we had set up one of the most advanced molding plant for mobile phone in Vietnam, where they had 200 molding machines under one roof, but hardly 4 or 5 people were operating the entire plant. The tooling of the entire mobile phone segment is yet to be started in India. For some reasons, the white goods market, I mean the LED TV, refrigerator, washing machine, already has a huge domestic consumption, but I guess more than 95% of the tooling comes from overseas. Just to give you a hint, one of our customer in Delhi has more than 6,000 molds with Yudo with them. This sector requires much introspection, joint meetings between industry bodies and the brand owners. We have to find out a way how to push them for the localization of the tooling in India. For auto sector, it is so much encouraging to see the way OEMs are pushing hard for the tools, and the result can be seen with the increase in demand. The only concern area was the lighting molds, but even on this segment, some vital initiatives are taken. Let's not forget, the automotive export has just begun, and it has its own potential. I have my presentation after this session. My today's presentation will not be as usual, where we mostly showcase the work we do. It is all said and done. Yudo does more than 70,000-80,000 automotive parts every year across the world, including hundreds of bumpers. You name the part, and we must have done them in hundreds and thousands of number. Today, I will share our R&D strength. We have more than 300 researchers in 9 R&D centers across the globe, and Yudo India is one of them. And I'll show you today some products which we were never heard of in auto sector. or some technology which was developed for packaging or another segment, but now Yudo is using them into auto sector to address the changing customer demands like soft material, touch-based parts, and so on. At the same time, tomorrow in my packaging presentation, I will be mainly showing the new technologies for packaging segment with some really exciting case studies. To sum up, we all are fortunate to be in India, especially when the real growth story is taking off. Let's work together to create more opportunities. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share my thoughts with you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing all of those wonderful insights. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are indeed very grateful also. We have Mr. Prashant Jain, Managing Director, G Power India Limited, who's right here now. May I please request you to join us up on stage? And may I request President, sir, to please felicitate him, welcome him, and acknowledge his presence here with a bouquet. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in welcoming him up to the stage? So, Mr. Jain, firstly, thank you so much for joining us here. And I know that you've just come in on stage, but may I request you to please join us to the podium for your address. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please? Yes, thank you.
Very good morning. I am humbled and pleased to be here. And the energy that we need to create the future of the world, to create the future of the society, is all right here. So maybe once again, very good morning. I don't see the energy, maybe it is coming later. So, or maybe I'm keeping you away from tea or coffee. So I'll try once again. Very good morning. Good morning. 300 billion to 500 billion. The journey of the manufacturing sector is not going to happen without the tooling industry. We say Dravya, Kshetra, Kal, Bhav, the four elements need to come together for anything in this world to happen. And if I look at the environment today for this country, first, robust demand domestically. Second, the right policy framework and the will with the PLI, Make in India. And third, young population in the country. Fantastic level of competencies and capabilities. Today, we have been developing in this country largely on import substitution and localization. And I would challenge this group here to look beyond. There will be definitely a huge amount of potential that I just heard also from you in the last discussion that, okay, import substitution, localization, and manufacturing sector depending on local tooling and local capabilities is going to be important to drive this sector. And I think I already see a great power in this sector with import substitution and localization. The next wave is only going to happen if you are going to recognize two things. One, the local demand, the local resource, local R&D. This is a sector that has been sleeping for decades. We have not recognized the local demand, the local resource in our R&D, and local capabilities. We have been chasing the Western models, the Western mindset, the Western technology, and most of our attempts so far have been, can I make this cheaper? Can I make this faster? Can I make it local? Can I save on duties, taxes, etc.? Now, thankfully, in the last 5 to 7 years, the sector that has opened up is defense. That is one positive sign. The second sector that is opened up is R&D. For the first time, I am hopeful that we are going to see a different trajectory for the country, driven by R&D, largely whenever the defense opens up, the defense R&D opens up. That is when the local innovation starts, and that local innovation creates world-class technologies and opportunities. So while we focus on import substitution, localization on one side, the other side is two elements, as I said, local resource, and the second element is innovation and R&D. If we do that, we will put this country at the best. We have local resources, for example, coal, right? The world is moving away from coal, was moving away from coal till they got a wake-up call from Ukraine. Similarly, we have bioresidue, agri-waste in the country. This country has large cultural diversity and therefore its own culture demands. If you look at raising capital for this sector, now if I go and say, look, I want to do some innovation in tooling industry, I know how much pain it is to raise funds from the banks and financial institutions. But when you look at the startup ecosystem today, there is billions of dollars of capital flowing into the startup ecosystem in the country. And how can this manufacturing sector, the traditional sector of tooling, become as attractive as startup ecosystem? I think it is the power of integrating industrialization, automation, digitalization together. And if we combine that with local resource and innovation, that is what I think will happen for us. So what do I mean with that? Can we integrate 3D printing upfront in what we do? Oh, that's not competitive today. But then if you want to build the future, we don't want to start with cost as the factor. We want to say, can I build the future with this integrated into my R&D design? So I would encourage you, whatever you do today, please keep 2 pillars in your future strategy for growth. 1, import substitution that brings in the cash flow for the current operations. But 2, focus on the local resource with R&D and innovation to catapult this country not only to 500 billion, but also maybe $1 trillion in terms of manufacturing sector. So I wish you all the best. I'm happy to collaborate, support as many efforts as we see in terms of local indigenous R&D, integrating local resource, local talent pool, and innovation. So wishing you all the best. I wish I could spend more time engaged with you a lot more. But it was a long pull from Nishant and Ankit who requested my presence, and I felt it would be my honor to be with you here today and to share my short perspective. Thank you and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing all of those wonderful insights. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've heard some incredible insights from all of our addresses that just happened up on stage. And I think it's going to be a great 2-day event. Don't you think so? Yes? So can I get like a thumbs up or a victory sign if you feel that these 2 days are going to be absolutely power-packed? Let's see. Thumbs up, victory signs. Now, you can see that we have all of these gentlemen right here, but you're sitting with, people that you might know, that you might not know. So very quickly, take out your mobile phones. Like on each table, you can just take out a mobile phone and take a selfie of everyone who's sitting on the table with you. This entire gathering here can also do that. Maybe sir or sir there, Vice President could click a selfie. Please upload it on LinkedIn. We are very active on LinkedIn, @TAGMA India, and use the hashtag ITS 2022. When we talk about growth, when we talk about getting everybody else also to know that we're here, we're geared up for what's in store. So yes, if you'd like to stand up and click a picture as well, you can do that. It's absolutely up to your discretion. But yes, get in the pictures going, get in that energy going, not only here, but also through social media, through the digital forums, and to just let people know that you're attending an absolutely stellar event today. With this, I have a very important thing that we're going to do. We have a thank you note that's going to happen, but before that, could we take the opportunity to thank all of our dignitaries who are on stage with a memento? I'm going to request our President, sir, to please hand over this memento to all of our guests who are here. And let's start with our chief guest, Mr. Sunil Kakkar, Senior Executive Officer, Supply Chain, Maruti Suzuki India Limited. Could you please get a memento for him? We are extremely glad. We are thankful for your time. And we are glad that you've taken out the time and have joined us here. Ladies and gentlemen, could you please put your hands together? For our guest of honor, Mr. Hariom Rai, Chairman and Managing Director, Lava International Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. For Mr. Prashant Jain, Managing Director, GE Power India Limited. Thank you so much, sir. It means a lot to have you here. Mr. T.S. Gopalakrishnan, Director, Marketing, Multiple Special Steel. Thank you so much, sir. And for Mr. Vishal Agarwal, President, Yudo Hot Runner India Private Limited. Thank you, President Sir. May I request all of you to please be seated? Ladies and gentlemen, during the course of the day today, if you feel like clapping, please do not wait for me at any time. You can just go ahead and make sure that you give in the energy. With this, I'm going to now request and invite Mr. G. Shanmugasundaram, Vice President TAGMA India, to please join us at the podium for his thank you note. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in welcoming him?
Namaste and Namaskaram to New Delhi. First, I would like to thank our chief guest, Sri Sunil Kakkar ji, Executive Officer, Supply Chain, Maruti Suzuki India. Guest of honor, Sri Hari Om Rai, Chairman and Managing Director, Lava International, and Sri Prashant Jain, Managing Director, GE Power India Limited. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us for the International Tolling Summit 2022. In the same way, I would like to thank Powered by Partners, Mr. Gopalakrishnan and Agarwal, Vishal Agarwal. There is an interesting story behind Powered by, there are two. Vishal, can I tell the story? When we started ITS, when we announced this, both gentlemen, Vishal and Gopalji, were fighting for the Powered by. Sir, I want to do, I want to do. We were another gentleman also, and there were many mails exchanged, and we, TAGMA EC, at last decided to have in the 6th ITS 2 Powered by. One is multiple still, another is Yudo. Thank you for both of them for agreeing to share the Powered by. We are happy to hear from the chief guest that 90% of the molds and die are done in India. Thank you, sir. Thanks for this information. And also, we, TAGMA, would like to jointly work with you for the skill development so that we can achieve the 100%. Now, looking back, the last 2 years of pandemic in the history, recollecting what has happened in the last 2 years, large economies of the world supported the people with a lot of stimulus, and as well Indian government also has provided a lot of stimulus. And also people had enough money, in the sense the spending people had enough money in the form of travel was not there, no recreation, and many recreation means eating out or travel, many people did not travel, so money was there in the people's pocket, and people started spending to buy second phone or maybe exercise machines or home appliances, which led to the COVID consumption recovery. And the economies recovered very well past COVID. After that, we had a tough situation with 4 factors. One is travel back. Again, the spending has been done. Second is we had a big supply chain disruption. Whichever you touch, whether it is aluminum or steel, it was very high. And also inflation over the world because of the energy. And fourth is Ukraine war. So you put all these 4 factors together, we thought that we will have a very difficult situation. But reality is, as per the reports, India's manufacturing PMI has been around 50 points plus for several months. It is a clear sign of expanding economy and growing manufacturing industry. India recently surpassed UK to become the 5th largest economy. Today, standing here as someone who closely working with tooling and machine tool fraternity, I am excited about the future. I see huge opportunities coming our way from various industries. We can see that automotive OEM are showing great numbers after a number of years. EVs are catching up, especially in 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers, and industries like defense, aerospace, medical, mobile, white goods, packaging, agriculture and construction equipments are all in the growing stream. And huge opportunities in toys sector as well. Companies from these sectors are setting up and expanding manufacturing bases here, which is a great sign of improvement in the economy, and it's a great opportunity for the tool makers. It is the time for us to explore these industries as well and develop the business accordingly. Also, we are saying that many of the industry pundits are saying that this decade is for India, but recently McKinsey, Bob has said, this century is for India. He specifically highlighted that India is the future factory of the world. With this positive signs of economy, I would suggest the Indian tooling industry to come together and set a benchmark so that we can prove that we can compete with any global tooling industry. We have a vital role to play by putting our best efforts with belief and dedication to reduce the imports and increase the exports. At TAGMA, we are always there to help the industry and our members in whatever way possible. Discussing with members recently, we have realized there are few major challenges such as skilled manpower, availability of adequate finance, and global exposure. We at TAGMA, for the skill development, we have recently started Tooling Academy. This is an initiative by TAGMA to help the industry in skill development and upskilling your existing employees. We partner with subject experts and conduct workshops every month. Currently it is online, but we will plan to launch offline workshops as well. Also, there will be some study materials and courses planned which is readily available anytime. For capital expansion, we are in discussion with the government bodies and some financial institute to come up with special policies offers that will benefit the industry. Very, very soon it will be rolled out. We are also planning to create a task force in TAGMA from different walks of expertise to answer your queries. Any TAGMA member, if you have any support requirement, these experts will come in and guide you. This will also be very well rolled out. This is an idea from President, which we are discussing with a lot of experts. For example, we will have an SIDB, we will have an NSIC expert, we will have a government expert on the panel so that anytime they will able to guide the TAGMA members. And also if certain companies are looking for JVs, expansion plans and manpower, finance or need help related to policies, this task force, which will consist of experts, will be able to guide them. Also for global exposure, recently one of our EC members has visited Canada and had a very positive signs and a lot of discussions happened, which he will brief you on the later. We are discussing with the Mold Makers Association from Canada and Japan to explore business opportunities in these countries, and we are planning a delegation from the Indian tool makers to these countries to explore the opportunity. Before concluding, I thank all our guests, sponsors, speakers, and delegates, and my fellow team members, TAGMA Executive Council and Secretaries to make it happen this ITS 2022. Overall, I see next 2 days will be very interesting. Thank you so much for everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shanmugasundaram, for that lovely address. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, we're going to be taking a short break, but I need your help. Can you please help me in one thing? So we know that we've just started the Power Pack sessions, but after this we have a panel discussion, and we are going to be trying to make sure that you and us together, we're going to be bang on time. We're going to try and make sure that we are going to be making sure that we are keeping the program on schedule. So may I request you to go get your refreshments as quickly as possible and then come back. By 11:15 sharp, we'd like to start the panel. But before that, may I request our dignitaries to please step forward for a photo. Can we get a group photo, please? And then, yes, could we get you to please hold the booklet, please, yes, together. And then we have the Executive Council members also to join us. So, ladies and gentlemen, just be with us for another few seconds. Could you please put your hands together for all of our dignitaries who are right here on stage, joining us for a group picture. Could we get the Executive Council members, please, to join us? Yes. Gentlemen, please remain on stage. Could we get them to please join us? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, quickly, may I request you to join us for refreshments? We'll see you back in the next 5 to 7 minutes. We're going to be starting with the panel at 11:15 sharp. Thank you to our dignitaries. May we request you to please join us for refreshments as well.